All right, all right. Well, aloha kahiaka. That means good morning in Hawaiian. Welcome everyone to the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. Today is January 31st, 2025. Hope you're all doing well. I'm Peter Kay. I'm your host, and let me fire up everything else I got to fire up over here. Okay, I got that. So welcome. We got a really fun show for you today. We got a couple of things on that. First of all, I want to say e komo mai, which is another Hawaiian term, which means welcome. So we got a bunch of things to talk about today. We got some fun Hawaii news. A lot of stuff's been going on. A lot of things to talk about. We're going to do some market updates. We have friends from Kauai and the Big Island here with us today, and of course, we're going to take your questions. This is an Ask Us Anything show. Anything. Real estate is okay, but anything. And then we're going to go through some diamonds and deals, some properties that our friends want to talk about, either diamonds or deals, and sometimes both. And then we're going to close with some motivational thoughts. So glad that you're here with us. Let us do the first thing that we got to do. We have to warm up the internet. So we have to get these things kind of going to give all the streaming services a chance to catch up with us. So I'm going to introduce my friends who are with me today. And we've got Ronnie. Ronnie, how do you pronounce that last name correctly?
Margolis.
Ronnie Margolis, who's from Kauai, and we have Dylan Nonaka, who is hailing from the Big Island, and I'm your excellent host, Peter Kay, on Oahu. So, guys, the normal, we need to warm up the cameras here, so we're going to warm this up with Dylan, who normally tells us about the Aloha shirt he's wearing, and we almost have the same color, Dylan. So what's going on? How are you today? How's the Big Island? What's the shirt? What's happening?
This is my standard living in Hawaii, or living hula for the Living in Hawaii show shirt. So again, still working on that sponsorship, but always my favorite brand. They're local company right here out of Kona, and good friends that own and run that. So check out livinghula.com if you want to see their attire, and they got lots of different things. But it's a rainy day over here in Kona. We're going to talk about it during the show, but we're catching the storm, I think, the brunt of it right now currently, and that's why I'm at my home office today and not at my normal studio, because the roads were pretty flooded and treacherous. So trying to stay dry and just get through it.
Yeah, it's been a wild one. Look, we could you know what? Let's do a little free form. Let's talk about the storm. Let's just kind of go right into it. Let's just talk about the storm. So tell us what's been going on. I got a video I want to show. And we had, we've had this storm, and I actually I had a fun thing yesterday, is that I went into a something I haven't done for forever, really, is I always wanted to go and see a storm situation on a stream. Let me see, I'm going to pull this here. I always, what do we do in Hawaii when we get the slightest bad weather? We all run for the hills. We go inside our homes and we shelter. We don't go anywhere. Everything shuts down. Nobody does anything, right? And the whole town kind of hunkers down for rain, right? And I thought, I want to go in the middle of pouring freaking rain. I got this old raincoat I used to use. I want to go and see what do the streams look like. What's going on with like a stream? What does a stream kind of show? So I did that. So this was yesterday. And I want to hear about the weather that you've got going. But check this out. I had this is all right. Here we go. So I'm getting some feedback, some feedback from somebody. I don't know who that's coming from. I'm getting like a whining, a pitching sound. Anyway, here. So take a look at this, guys. Take a look at this. So this is normally this is like pretty much a dry stream, and you can see that it's normally a dry stream because there's vegetation, right? Put this on repeat here. Normally there's vegetation, and you can see all the plants on the floor, which tells you how dry this thing normally is. It's normally a little trickle, just a little trickle, and this was yesterday. It was coming down. It was coming down.
And is this Hawaii Kai, kind of near where you live?
This is East Honolulu. Yes, East Honolulu. Yes. And again, normally there's like a little trickle, a little bit of water, but it was raging. And then another thing that I've never done is I always wanted to kind of check out I've always wanted to go and see what the mouth of the stream looks like when it hits the ocean. So normally there's like sand. It's all sand, and like the stream is kind of like, stagnant. It doesn't move. And so I walked, soaking ass wet, walked down to the beach to check that out. And I caught a video of that too, and that was really fun. So check this out. So this, normally this whole area that you're looking at here is all sandy. So um, there's the stream coming in, and right over here at this mouth that we're looking at right now is normally all sand. It's all sand. You could just walk out there on the beach and completely washed out. And I don't know if you can make it out on the screen, but the water is all brown. It's all brown water. So that was my extreme cool weather experience that I had yesterday, Dylan. And I want to hear about I want to hear about Ronnie and his experience, but tell us about what's going on the big one. Before we do that, really quick, I want to say hi to Alex Pactaman. Alex is a member of the Island Ohana. Hey, Alex, good to see you, buddy. Hope you enjoyed that little video I took. And so, Dylan, what's the weather like because right now it's sunny here. It's a little overcast, but it's sunny. The birds are tweeting. It's all beautiful. I'm gonna look for rainbows. You're muted.
Yeah, it's over for you guys. It's awesome. That's how it works, right? That kind of like 24 hours, it passes through and it moves on. Kauai or Maui was getting it hard yesterday, and then I mean, right now, like I can kind of see the ocean from my house, so it's not super pouring hard or anything. It was pouring hard this morning, and it's windy, which is odd because it's coming from the west, which is a really odd weather pattern. And so there's like our lanai is totally covered in water. My back covered lanai is totally soaked, and so that wind is usually not a normal weather pattern, and that's what we're getting a lot of. So it's wind and rain, but not bad. It's calming down right now.
So Carol, who's from the Big Island, thanks, Carol. Carol's on Dylan's team, and she does the videos on the other Fridays. Thunder and lightning all night, big wind, lots of rain. So interesting. And then thanks, Carol, for sharing. A tree across my driveway, other ohia trees down in the pasture. Yeah, that's so Carol, are you on the east side of the Big Island, or are you on the west side?
West side. She lives 10 minutes. They're 5 minutes away from me. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
The thing about the thing about Kona is we don't ever get heavy winds because it's like protected by the mountains. And so when we get these weird weather patterns where the wind comes, trees all fall, the power lines break because there's no tension on those things normally. And so we don't deal with wind very well when it does come, but it's very, very rare when you get a really windy day.
Now you mentioned this kind of quickly, and Judy is with us. Hey, Judy, from the Island Ohana. She says we lost 3 banana trees in the wind. All right, yeah. So you were mentioning, and this was like a quick point, but it's somewhat of an important point for people who are interested in knowing more about Hawaii. You said the winds were coming; they were coming out of the west. Is that right?
Yeah.
And normally they come out of the east, and so the whole place, all the whole infrastructure, vegetation, you name it, is used to getting hit by the east side, and all of a sudden it's getting hit by the west side. So all kinds of new areas of the home are exposed. All things are exposed to wind that they're not. You want to talk about that a little bit more?
Well, and yeah, that's an important point. The weather pattern usually comes from the east, right? If you look at the way that like hurricanes usually come to the islands, are coming from the east to the west, and that's just a normal flow of the trade winds in the Pacific. And on the Big Island, particularly, you have Mauna Loa, which is this huge shield volcano, right? One of like the biggest by volume like volcano in the world, and it creates this big block, this huge wall where the weather that comes from the east gets caught up in that, and so that's why the east side of the island is very, very wet, and the west side of the island is not. And so not only does the wind we just don't get wind because the wind gets caught up on the east side and it never makes it to the west side because you got this huge volcano in the middle. And so even worse, like the trees and the power lines and things don't get any tension. They don't get any stress normally because the west side of the island is so protected from any type of wind. And so I always brag about, I think, the Kealakekua kind of Kona area of Kona is like the greatest weather anywhere in the world because it's always perfect. It's never too windy. It's never too rainy. It's never too hot. It's never too cold. I mean, it's just like, it's perfect because of that. It's protected. It's got this little aura of protection around it.
I just realized something, and this is like God's gift to us that Ronnie is here today, because we've got the whole weather pattern that we could share with people. If you look at the Hawaiian, but first I want to give a shout out to Carol again. Thanks, Carol. She says I just spoke to someone, so this is kind of fun, gang.
So
So
the
everybody,
inverse is true, right? It
yes.
came from the west. So we caught it on the west side, and the east side got protected. So yeah, we saw the
And to
opposite.
Carol's point, just spoke to someone
Yeah.
on the east side, no lightning there or wind. So, folks, you are in for a super cool treat, because you're going to learn about the weather patterns about the island. So imagine this, folks. If you look at the Hawaiian Islands as on a map, Kauai is out of the main islands. Kauai is the westernmost island, and the big island is the easternmost island. So if you go from west to east, and the storm came out of the west and the east, first it hit Kauai, then it hit Oahu, and then now it's hitting the big island. So I just gave you you're looking at the motion pictures, the pictures of what happened to Oahu yesterday. So earlier than that, before yesterday, I think, but whenever. Ronnie, give me I want to hear about the Kauai experience. What was that like?
Well, when I'm
You're
in my house, I can't really tell the direction that the wind is coming from, except that my doors are blowing open. And at one point, my wife took a bungee cord because she didn't trust the lock, and she wanted to make sure it didn't blow open. We had
That's how secure our houses are in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, right. I think on Kauai we had 40 to 60 mile an hour gusts. We're not used to winds like that. Power was out to about 4,000 customers yesterday. I live on the east side, Malka Kapa'a, and my power was out for about 3 hours, but there are a couple pockets in the island where the power is still out. And Wainiha, which is on the far northwest of the island, they say they won't have power and water until tomorrow. So I'm not sure what happens in terms of water. But my friend who's in Kilauea said he got a text this morning that said you may be losing your water. So water outages, power outages. I heard on the radio this morning the Kilauea Elementary School is closed because they have no water. And so it's on the good news, I'd say there hasn't been a hurricane on Kauai since 1992. So a little breeze, and I love the wind and rain. I actually was expecting more rain, but it's the wind that did the damage. Even I read the Aloha air cargo building was kind of almost destroyed, and so it's interrupted cargo flights between the islands.
It's interesting that you bring all this up, and I don't want to get too distracted. We have a few minutes. It's remarkable to me that in the modern world that we live in, that you would think that we would have a much more resilient infrastructure, right? Because it's like, we joke about it, we complain about it. It's almost like we have like almost third world levels of infrastructure when it comes to even the slightest storm. It's almost like, you could almost play the drinking game and see, or do some over and under public market bets to see, how long is it going to be before the power goes out. Start the timer. It's raining, it's windy, hit the timer. How long do you think it's going to go before we lose power? And I wish that we had better infrastructure.
It's the overhead power lines is what does it.
Yeah, that's what
the overhead power lines is a terrible way to.
Well, here on Hawaii, because it was so windy, and I had no idea this is what happens, the electric company is flying helicopters to see where the breaks are in the line. I'm thinking they don't do that digitally, but when it's windy, like it was last night, they can't fly. So I had to wait till this morning. The winds, even though the weather says wind advisory up until noon, there's like virtually no wind blowing now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, hey, Alex, you take care, buddy. Have a great weekend. We have to run back. Go get back to work. Go get your work done. We will be here. We'll be here in a couple weeks again. Yeah, it's like, it's the overhead power lines, right, Dylan, which were built in the 40s, right? Which were built in the 40s. It's not like we don't know how to deal with this. I mean,
Definitely on the Big Island, one of the big things in the Big Island is because it's so new, and Maui probably, is the same, is it's so expensive to put power lines underground because the trenching and the digging, it's not like the mainland where you can just run a bulldozer and cut a big line because it's all dirt. You go 6 inches under and it's solid blue rock. And so that's a big drawback, or that's a restriction for underground utilities here.
Certainly.
Yeah.
But again, I got to believe that there's technology that deals with overhead power lines as well and can make them resilient enough where they don't fall down, when there's wind. But anyway, we're not going to rant too much about that. I think Carol brings a fun point. So Carol says, for us on catchment, no power means no water too. The irony of this whole thing is that we just had billions of gallons of water got dropped on us, right? We have all the water in the world, but if you don't have a pump, well, Carol, get a bicycle pump or something, do manual pumping, something, or get a Tesla Powerwall, which I did a couple of years ago. And it's been the coolest thing. Dylan, you have a Tesla. You should you may want to consider a Powerwall. It is really, really cool. You don't even know it. You don't even know it. And, I mentioned this earlier. We feel guilty when the power goes out like it did yesterday. Of course, we turn all of our lights off because we don't want our neighbors to be mad that we've got power and they don't. So we kind of black everything out, but we still have our TVs and our internet. So Linda, 2 people have generators. Some do, but it's not widespread, right? No one's, you don't have it like where every single person has generators that they're going to use. Although there have been times now when, power goes out and I hear a bunch of diesel motors going off in my neighborhood. So the irony of ironies, we're trying to make our power more green. And so we have less reliable power. So it means that we run dirty diesel when the power goes out, which, unintended consequences. Hey, so give a shout out to Susie Q. Well, aloha from Southern California. We had some wild winds here in the past week as well. It's been, Sue, I mean, you guys have got the king of wild winds and fires and all kinds of stuff. It's one of those, I don't know, man. It's one of those end times kind of deals. So, hey, folks, well, since you're all glad to have you all here with us, listen, make sure we'd love to hear from you. Let us know where you're from. Give us a shout out. We're going to do a little bit of a different format for today because we have Ronnie who's from Kauai and we have Dylan who's from the Big Island. The girls could not make it for today, but they will be back in future shows. Let us know. I'd be curious about number one. Give us a shout out where you're from, what you're doing, and how's the weather been at your place. Do we have how much different weather patterns are we going to be experiencing? I'd love to know about them. Hey, why don't we let's move on. Let's go to Dylan, why don't let's do a market update. I mean, I've got some news, but I think we talked the news through. We'll see how it goes. Let me bring up my slideshow again. I got a bunch of other topics that we could talk about, but let's kind of hit the market update. Give me a second here to turn my screen back on. Stand by, folks, while for these technical difficulties while we get these things going over here. I had my videos playing, and that's not flying. So, okay, I think we're good. So let's do a market update. Dylan, why don't you give us the update? Kind of, you got a bunch of slides over here, so guide me through what you want to show, and let's get to it.
Yeah, I just thought we'd do some more like statewide market update, and I always like these slides that Peter's going to show you because it shows the national trends versus what's going on in Hawaii. So when you look at these, this is month by month number of total listings in the market, and this is statewide, so not any island specific. But then the orange line shows you what the national market is doing. So basically on the right hand side of the graph, you have the number of listings nationally, and in the left hand you have the scale for the number of listings locally. And if you look over the last 12 months, basically the listings have continued to increase month after month after month, and they've kind of flattened out here since September, October of last year. And this is just through December. The January numbers aren't out yet. But if you look nationally, the number of listings dropped off in December, but ours stayed where they were on that kind of plateau that we were at from the last couple of months. And so just an interesting piece of data to kind of see, like, is what's happening nationally, what Hawaii is doing, are we tracking on the same track? Is there a convergence or a difference? And so this is one piece of data just showing that we've kind of almost gotten back to 7,000 active listings across the state, which is still low in comparison. Usually pre-COVID, it was 1,000 or more than that, like 7,500. So, or sorry, 8,500. So we're still low in terms of historical standards. And then the next one is, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, give me. I want to give a quick moment here, a quick shout out. I want to say hi to Rich P, who is first time joining us from Minnesota. Rich, all I want to know about is how is the weather? How the hell cold is it? How cold is it in Minnesota? That's all I want to know. But besides that, Rich, thanks for joining us. Glad that you're with us. All right, thanks. Dylan, give us the, let's see, next slide, please. Okay, what do we got?
And I'm not going to deep dive any of these because it's a lot of data here, but this is median days
Yeah.
on market, right? So how many days on market does it average, does it take a house to sell? If you look, pretty much the same in terms of national versus local. So we're at 84 days locally, and it's a little bit higher on the actually it's a little bit higher on the national side. So no big news there. And then moving on to the next one.
So before we move on, what's interesting about this, a quick observation is it seems that the mainland market, the national market, is more volatile, right? Because it's the higher highs, right, and the lower low. You know, a little bit lower. You know, when it goes up over the Hawaii market. That's when it dips below. So anyway, that's my quick observation here.
And just shows it. And that's mainly due to we don't have seasonality in our market, right? In the mainland market, like right now, the winter time, it's very, very slow, and then it gets really busy in the spring and the summer, and then it slows down in the fall. We have somewhat of our seasonality is more affected by when people travel here, right? In the summer and the winters, when people are here for mainland buyers, and so that's kind of that's a big difference. It's a lot more stable. The Hawaii real estate market is a lot more stable.
Very, very, very true. Good. Before we go to the next slide, hey, shout out to 91 Juan. Okay, Phil J, repeat viewer here from San Carlos, California. Excellent, San Francisco, San Jose Bay Area. Welcome. I'm glad you've surfaced yourself, even though you're a repeat viewer. This is the first time I'm seeing this name on our show. So thanks for being here. And if you're just joining us, please let us know where you're from. We are going through some interesting slides over here. Let's see. I think I got this one next. Dylan, what's is that the one? Yeah, number one's with price reductions. Yeah.
So this is an interesting one, right? Is what's the market doing in terms of are people dropping the price? Because that's probably what people are most interested in. I mean, days on market and stuff like that is kind of like a wonky real estate statistic, but this just tells you overall how many homes are on the market that had a price reduction. And if you look at that, it was higher nationally than it was locally over the last few months, and we've kind of come together and we're almost at a similar place in terms of the trend line, right? So, but what this is saying, what is this? So what does this mean? Is there were definitely way more price reductions mid to late last year than there are right now, and so it seems like the market is kind of stabilizing. Sellers are catching up to where prices should be. Buyers are purchasing more often. And if you look at 846 seems like a lot, but if there's 7,000 listings in the market, I mean, you're talking about 10% are listings that are having a price reduction. So it's not like a widespread thing. It's really just a small segment of the overall market.
Excellent. And the folks are chiming in here. Pam is back. Hey, Pam, welcome back, Pam. Aloha from Denver. Pam, thanks for making it. Good to see you again. Always fun to kind of see the repeat folks that are making their way over here. Hey, by the way, folks, let me just take this moment. This is an Ask Us Anything show. So as Dylan's going through this, it doesn't have to be about the slides. It could be about anything that you want to know about Hawaii. You've got some veterans here that have been here for a long time. Dylan was born here. Between Ronnie and I, we got close to 100 years here. So make sure you let us know whatever, which is weird saying that, right? But make sure you let us know if there's something about Hawaii that you want to, or anything you could ask about life in general. There's a lot of wisdom here going on. All right, Dylan, tell us about the median listing price.
Yeah, the last one is just kind of tracking, median price. Again, the scale is different on each side, right? But this is to compare trends. And if you look, it's pretty similar. There aren't any huge divergence in terms of the trend of median price going up during the summer months. That's normal, right? In terms of trend lines for nationally, where the market gets busier and then coming back down in the wintertime. And that's basically where we're at. So trend line pretty similar. But if you look over the course of the last 12 months, just for the Hawaii trend line, we are a little bit lower in terms of, and this is median listing price, not median sold price. And so that's important because median sold price is actually up, right, over year if you look at pretty much every market. But this is more saying, hey, people are dropping the price, and so the median price is lower, but it still is reflective of a higher sales price. So it's two different kind of pieces of data, but just showing that the overall market stuff that's listed is starting to trend lower.
Interesting. Plus, I think and you look at this, the mainland curve looks a lot smoother, and I think I'm just going to guess over here. It's probably because the local market is relatively small. If you look at the number of homes, like if you look at the scale on the left, we're in the millions or million plus. On the right hand side, it's much smaller, less than half that, and so there's a lot more volatility in a Hawaii market, right? One $10 million home throws off the whole median price, whereas the mainland, it's much more of there's a much higher number of everything. Cool. All right. Dylan, is there anything you kind of want to summarize? Okay.
You're absolutely right about that. And, like another dynamic that happens is like Oahu new developments, right? If a new developer in Oahu, new luxury condo high rise goes on the market, it will drag that median price up quickly because it got $10, $5 million condos that go on the market. So that's one thing that sometimes it looks more volatile because those outliers affect it.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dylan, so give me the TLDR, too long didn't read summary. What's the headline that you'd kind of throw at this whole thing?
Nothing exciting. Pretty standard.
There you go.
It's a long explanation of it. Everything's pretty stable and pretty normal.
Pretty stable, and we tend to follow a national. We tend to kind of go in step with the national trend for the most part. There's some small variances. Okay, cool. Ronnie, your turn. Give us the what do you want to share about what's going on Kauai? What does Kauai's market look like? What's been your experience? If you can give us kind of a quick summary of where you're seeing the Kauai market going right now.
What he said.
God bless you. Nothing. Nice.
No, it's you talk about small numbers, right? Total of 56 sales island-wide in December. Today's the last day, right, of January, so there'll probably be some closings posted today. This month we had 66 sales. But just like median price numbers can be skewed by one transaction, I saw 4 pieces of land, and a lot of times in our MLS and any MLS, a property becomes active and it's on the market so many days and then it's sold. But a lot of times things are pre-sold or waiting for certificates of occupancy. So you see it show up as active, sold, in the same posting. And there's a subdivision up north, the North Shore Preserve. And I saw that 4 lots closed yesterday. The lowest one was $3 million and the highest one was $7.7 million for a piece of land. So kind of business as usual. I would say out of the 66 sales, there were actually 15 below $1 million. And so if you look at the numbers statewide, if Dylan were to show you that those graphs done by county or island, Kauai, I think, has had the highest level of appreciation.
Yeah, I think I saw some figure the other day. Kauai's median price was like 1.4 million or something like that. I can't recall what that was, but it was something of that nature, which is significant. We got a couple of questions here that I wanted to share with some folks. Give me a minute here. So let's see. Let's take a look at this. We got one from Tom, and I don't know if we could answer this, but Tom says, hey, how many single family homes are available today in Oahu and the range of low to high? Tom, we don't have normally our Oahu realtor is here, but Dylan, I see Dylan hacking through some graphs.
Yeah, if you give me a second, I can log into the MLS and tell you real-time numbers. But
yeah, great. So let's do this one then. So well, look, let's talk about this if you have this kind of an answer, Ronnie, for Kauai. See that now I can see both of their eyes are going off on the MLS. So here's another question for 9-1 from 9-1 Juan. Thanks, Juan. And any data on how many sellers let go of their 3% mortgage rates. Also, buyers who sold existing purchases also buyers who sold existing to purchase Hawaii property. That's a
Yeah.
cool statistic.
I think you would probably lean more towards the going into the weeds with a mortgage lender where they have those stats like we do the sales stats, because they, you know, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac would have those numbers. On Kauai, we currently have 166 single family homes for sale.
100.
And-
Okay, so this is Kauai. So once it's, Ronnie, what's the general range, like low to high of that? You know, the high's got to be like 100 million or whatever. But what would be the range of those homes that you would say low to high?
A fixer-upper on the west side that's unpermitted for only a cash buyer, 600,000. Most of the island, the east side, a funky, some would call it a fixer-upper home, single-family home, 800,000 would be the least expensive. And in the resort markets, you can rarely find anything, and these would be resort markets that can be vacation rented, short-term rentals. Nothing really below 2 million.
Thank you, Ronnie. That is an excellent summary for Kauai. Dylan, what have you got to share with us for Oahu?
For Oahu, currently there are 2,935 residential properties for sale. So that's single family homes and condominiums. It's actually way less if you just want to look at single family homes. There's only 844 on an island with 1.2 people. So there's a lot of people there and not a whole lot of inventory. And the median price right now for homes is $1,050,000. So if we add in condos to that, it goes on to $775,000. So that's the range. I mean, there's same thing on Oahu, right? There's 10 million, and there's, I mean, for homes, I mean, I gotta have to do a little bit more digging to figure that out. But you're not going to get a single family home on Oahu for less than 600, 650, and that's going to be something that's a fixer on the west side. So
I was going to say, go ahead, Ronnie.
I think that, you know, we talk about microclimates in the islands, and I've always looked at Kauai as we have micro markets. Because when you have an in-demand place like Lehue, which is our town core, and there's 0 for sale, the realtor can kind of reach high. When a certain area of the island gets kind of the inventory, say on the east side, there's almost nothing under $1 million, but from 1.2 to 1.8, there's way more homes than there are buyers. So in those markets, buyers can really get leverage. In the markets where there's nothing for sale, not so much.
Yeah, very true. So, and thanks, you know, Ronnie, I appreciate your prices because I think it helps Tom, because what Ronnie said kind of really applies practically for all practical purposes equally to Oahu. Those ranges of the, you know, the fixer upper, you know, unpermitted, you know, house that's going to probably be a tear down, you know, if, you know, in an area that nobody cares about or whatever, so to speak, and, you know, in a low demand area, 600,000. But realistically speaking, like to Dylan's point, the median price on Oahu is the number that you really want to look at, which is $1 million something. So good. Glad Tom seems happy. Tom's happy. He's giving us thank yous and perfects and great infos and correct. So Tom, happy to help. And 911. It's a great question. Go ahead.
I want to comment on 911's question,
yes.
Because I don't know. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about it, right? Like, where can you get this information from? And I don't know if it's even possible to get that information, because we do have how many homes sell in Hawaii to somebody who has an out-of-state address. You know, we've talked about that before on the show. We can get that data. It depends on the island. Every island it varies, but overall statewide, it's like 20% sell to somebody who's from out of state. But how many buyers sold an existing property in the mainland to buy here? That's a little bit more complicated because we don't really track that data, right? That's not a data point. You'd have to look at each individual contract, and if it was contingent on the sale of a home in the mainland, but you could have sold the home in the mainland 6 months ago and then bought in Hawaii and you use that money. So it's like, that's a really hard data point to get any, I think, reliable information on. So just to set some expectations, if that's what you're looking for, I don't know if you can find it. So.
I think it's a great question, but hard as hell to kind of get to the bottom of, right? Because,
yeah,
I mean, you know, long time ago, we paid off our mortgage, and these days, here's an example. So a long time ago, we paid off our mortgage, and nowadays, my wife is like, we should have kept like 25,000 as an outstanding balance. I'm like, why? She goes, because the bank does all the work of making sure that your taxes are paid and making sure your insurance is paid and all this stuff. And now we got to do it manually. And it was just so much easier to have the bank do it. So I was like, yeah, keep 25 grand of an outstanding balance, make your tiny payments, make, $10 a month payments, but the bank is going to kind of, the bank will take care of it. So in that case, it doesn't really count. You do have a 3% mortgage, but it's for a minuscule amount, right? So it's a great question, 911. It is a great question, but it's a very, very complex one. Tom says you can get it from the tax records. Takes time. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem.
One thing you know for sure, if you look, let's say over the last 4 years of data, so 2021, when prices went off the charts and velocity went off the charts and interest rates were still low, and you track that 4-year period, what are the things that have caused the high appreciation and slowdown in the real estate market, historically low? This is one of them. You know that most people with a 3% mortgage looking at 7 or 7.25, or might even get to 8 this year, I hear, they're going to say, better sit pat. We got to wait. So that's one of a number of drivers.
Yeah, no, that's a huge issue. Why would you want to give up a 3% mortgage and then pay, double that or more, 3 times that, close to, for mortgage. So thanks. Hey, we're getting some questions over here, which is terrific. Right. Quick mole. Okay. Great idea from my wife. Right. It's like, one reason why you'd want to kind of maybe refactor that mortgage, right? Refactor which reduce your payment on it. But I have a 25,000. I paid $10 a month to pay off my mortgage, and it's worth because the bank takes care of all my paperwork. So interesting. So, hey, so Susie Q's got one, and I apologize, Susie Q. She says, I submitted this question to the website a few weeks ago, but maybe you missed it. Yes, we did miss it. And I'm very sorry about that. I need to look at it. I think there's some kind of a technical issue. Normally we get notified about questions, but I will check. Anyway, Susie Q says, can you please give an overview of the differences between buying before versus after establishing state residency? Now, that's an interesting one because there's no legal requirement per se on state. Ronnie's got a tip. Okay, good. I want to hear about it. There's no legal requirement
in the islands when you live here, and you can show you live here. We have Kama'aina rates, discounts for locals. We don't have that on homes, and so it kind of cynical a little bit answer to that question. What's the difference? The difference is you'll be spending time paying someone else's mortgage while you're renting.
Renting. Yeah, so there's no legal requirement. So Susie Q, maybe you could kind of expand on what you mean by that. What do you mean an overview of difference between buying before versus after? I would, as establishing state residency is not a requirement per se. We don't have that in the United States, right? You could go to any state you want and buy anything that you want. So maybe you can expand on it a little bit more, because otherwise we might be guessing and give you the wrong answer to what you're looking for.
I have and technically, let me just answer that. Technically, there is no difference. Like the process of buying property, there is no difference. I mean, there's no benefits, there's no downsides. I mean, it's the same whether you're resident or not.
One thing that comes to mind, and this would depend on how long you establish it, and actually it wouldn't normally take place. But when you have the homestead exemption on Kauai, you're taxed at a much lower rate than if you're an absentee owner or own a vacation rental. So currently it adjusted down to $2.59 a thousand. So that would be the benefit, but generally speaking, you don't inherit that rate until the tax year comes around. So when you close on the property, you're inheriting the rate that's there. You could be, 25 years old, buy a home, but you're inheriting the rate of an 80-year-old person that has, a heavy exemption, and then the next year it rolls around. But we do pay lower taxes when we're permanent residents.
And that was prescient because Susie Q is expanding. Are there differences in the taxes? There are differences, and it varies by county, meaning by island. There are differences if you're an absentee owner and your vacation, if it's a vacation rental. It's more of the whether or not your residency is not the issue. It's whether it's how the property is being used, which wouldn't matter if you lived here or not. So if it's a vacation rental property in a X, Y, and Z zoned area, not zoned area, you can do it, you can do it. You will pay different rates. Like I know Big Island's got different rates, right, Dylan, for vacation rentals versus non-vacation rental homes, right?
Well, let me inject some complicating factors into this because
Let's complicate it.
yeah, so there's a lot to consider here. One, your property tax rate has nothing to do with your state residency. That's not something that they ask about. What they ask about, you have to send an affidavit saying that you spend it's 200 or something days a year in the house. Like it has to be your principal residence per what the county requires you to declare as your principal residence. So that is one thing which is not connected to state resident. They don't ask you for a state resident card or anything like that. They don't ask you to pay taxes in the state or anything like that. So those are definitely things that you can use to prove residency, but I mean, it's not necessarily necessary for property taxes. And so something that some people do is like they'll keep their state residency somewhere else where there's better income tax rates, and then they'll pay higher property tax rates because the property tax rates here are low no matter what. I mean, if you compare property tax rates here versus other places, even the non-owner occupant tax rate is lower than in many states. And so you really have to figure out your specific situation on what your overall tax liability looks like, what your overall financial situation looks like, and then figure out kind of what works best for you. But there's lots of different ways to skin this cat, so it's not straightforward. And some of it's not connected. They're disconnected. They're two separate things.
Ronnie, what's the Kauai situation like on terms of resident, non-res? I mean, not resident, vacation rental versus you have several tiers. Well, you mentioned the homestead, some sort of a homestead exemption. There's also
the homestead. When a person buys a home here, one of the things we tell them with their closing documents is make sure you go down and file the homestead exemption because you have to file it by September 30th, and then you get that rate, the $259, regardless. I think over the couple of decades I've been here, the general notion is this place is expensive. Okay, mainlanders can afford it. What about the local people who are getting priced out and who can't afford the taxes? So over the years, the county keeps adjusting, lowering the local rate and increasing the rate for the affluent. So yeah, this is the first year. If you're, the first value up to 1.2 million on a vacation rental is taxed at 10 and change. The difference between 1.2 and 2 million is a higher rate. The difference between 2 million and up it's a conglomerate rate. And basically it keeps getting higher because the thought is, those affluent people should bear a bigger portion of the burden.
I think it's gonna be quite interesting. Thanks, Susie Q. I'm glad we got your question answered. Please, I'm glad you were able to expand on it, and I'm glad you helped us focus on the tax side of things. So, hope that gives you a better idea. You're going to pay some. There are different rates. You do need to look to it. It is island specific, so you need to talk either if you're going to go on the Big Island, talk with Dylan. If you're going to go on Kauai, talk with Ronnie, and if you're going to go on Oahu, you could talk with Dylan as well and his team to get those details. So, thanks. Good job, guys. Thank you. Let's take one more and then we'll move on. So 911 says, speaking of non-permanent, have you discussed the Tristyn and Kamohai controversy? I don't know what the Tristyn and Kamohai controversy is. Do you guys know what that is? Have you guys heard of that?
They're like an HGTV.
Oh yeah, the flippers, the house flipping folks that are going around. Ashley talked about that a little bit. You guys, anything you have to share about that specifically?
I think there's more to every story than what the headlines read. And in general, I mean, not speaking specifically about their situation, in general, this is a government created problem because the government permitting process is so slow and complicated and inefficient that it's very common for people to just do renovations without permits. And there's some gray area between like what exactly you need a permit for. Like if you're just gutting everything and replacing it as is and you're not changing any electrical or not changing any plumbing, in most cases permits are not required. But that's basically what the controversy is over, is, whether or not they're properly permitting what they do. And I think there's probably, again, like most things, a lot of nuance in between, what is required and what's not. And so don't always trust the news.
It may be that Kamohai and Tristyn don't know to go down to the planning department with a bottle of good tequila.
A bottle of good tequila will solve a whole lot of things. Hey, so and I think to expand on it some more, I would basically summarize what Dylan said, is to say what Tristyn and Kamohai are doing is they're exposing what everybody else is doing. That's the thing. They're exposing what everybody else is doing, and all of a sudden, certain people are outraged about it. It's what everyone does, because, to Dylan's point, the permitting departments have made it extraordinarily, they've made it unreasonably difficult to get anything done. And so that's what you got to do. All right. Hey, great. You guys have been great. Everyone's been great. Ronnie's been great. Dylan's been great. And you folks have been great. Tom and Susie Q and 91 Juan. Great questions. It makes the show so much more fun. All right. Well, look, let's move on over here. We're on a roll. Let's bring up our diamonds and deals, and we'll kind of see where that goes, and we'll kind of play. We'll just kind of go with the flow over here. So let's see, Dylan. Let's see if you got, which one is yours over here. Let's. I
got the Mountain View house. Maybe the next one?
So Ronnie's got Princeville. So
Okay.
let's do, because he caught the order here. So Ronnie went through the effort. He put a slide together. Where the hell if we're not going to feature this one? So Ronnie, what do we got over here, buddy? What's happening?
This is our team's listing here in Princeville, and most of the luxury homes, actually, many years ago, 75% of the Princeville homes were owned by people that live here. Now it's about 30% and 70% vacation rentals. So very popular, verdant North Shore. This house has over $200,000 in revenues. I put 4 or 5 bedroom house because there's a gigantic oversized not owner's closet, a master bedroom closet that could easily be a 5th bedroom. It's on the golf course. It's over 3,500 square feet. And I always look at it as, when you buy this type of property in the islands, you're buying 2 assets. You're buying a property and you're buying a business. So this is a good business. And if you check out that link below, you'll find the property portal with everything, including all the permits. It's all permitted, and as well as the vacation rental income.
Okay, Ronnie, you got to tell me how much it's listing for. You can't leave me hanging for the cliffhanger.
No, Peter, I never do that in advertising. You always have to call me for that. If you put the price on a flyer, what do you need?
Call now.
It's
call now before midnight tonight. It's the Ginsu knives. You'll get the Ginsu knives if you call by midnight tonight.
The first 3 callers get a 20% discount. So
yeah, right. No, my seller hasn't authorized that. 3.45 million.
Call now. 3.45 million. So I'd love to we don't have time to do the math on it, but I'd love to kind of do all the math on it, because it's a 3.4, say 3.5. So it's 3.5 million. It's real estate, so you're owning it. It's appreciating at, like, give or take 6% annually on average, and you're making $200,000 a year out of it, revenue. Sounds like fun to me. Sounds like fun.
When people buy that type of property, we can do a cash flow analysis that shows historically over the last 63 years what that asset's going to be worth and what the cash flow is going to be. So that's helpful for investors.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. Great. Hey, before we move to Dylan's property, I want to give a shout out to Barbara. Barbara, welcome, Barbara. Good to see you. Glad that you're with us. Good information from you 3 gentlemen, but I missed the ladies. Yeah, I'm with you.
My wife's in the other room. No, she's busy.
You can bring her in. Yeah.
I won't do that. Can't do that.
Yeah, thanks, Barbara. And Barbara, I'm glad that you brought that up, because when we were deciding in the early days, when we were deciding kind of what was the mix was going to be, I did want a mix of men and women, just because it's fun. Having a bunch of guys talk is okay. It's good information, but you need to have, it's fun to bring in different perspectives. And I definitely wanted the female perspective brought into the show. So we missed the girls. We missed them both. We miss Ashley and we miss Heidi. They will be back with us. So great. Okay, Dylan, let's see. Is this one yours over here? No, it's of course
Next
not.
one. I got the
Next one.
complete opposite of Ronnie. So
Oh, this
if-
is cool. Oh
if the-
man.
if the
$110
$3.5 million house doesn't work for you, we have a $350,000 house. So 10% the price here on the Big Island on 1 full acre of land. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. This is built in 2014, so only about 10 years old. But this is in Eden Rock, very rural area here on the Big Island. But I always love to feature, what you can get on the Big Island. Very comfortable, nice, modern house with a lot of privacy. You can see it's surrounded by the rainforest, and it's all native trees. And it's about a 35-40 minute drive to town in Hilo, where you got all the amenities that you need. But if you're looking for country living and with lots of space and lots of privacy, there's lots of that here on the Big Island. So it's always good to have that perspective. We got the $3 million stuff too, but there's plenty of this that's available.
So Eden, I've never heard of this name, Eden Rock. This is on the east side of Oahu. Where is Eden Rock roughly?
It's on the way up to Volcano. So it's like between Volcano and Hilo. So it's about 3/4 of the way up towards Volcano. So yeah, it's
okay.
It's really cool. This is probably at, like, I would guess 3,000 feet of elevation, something like that, in that area. So a little bit cooler, a little bit wetter. But yeah, nice country living, man. Full acre. You get a full acre and a 2-bedroom, 2-bath for $350,000.
Man, oh man. And what about utilities? Electricity, phone, water. How does that work?
There's
Catchment,
electricity.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, this is on catchment. There is electricity. The house does has photovoltaic on it, so the bill's not too bad. But yeah, the biggest thing you don't have is municipal water, but it rains enough here on the east side that you will almost never run out of water. Other than what Carol was talking about, where if the power goes out and your solar goes out, and you don't have the pump to pump it into your house, then you won't have water. But yeah, it's really not a downside. A lot of 30% of the island here lives on catchment water, and that's been the way it's been for decades. It's never an issue.
Yeah, that's a cool thing that you brought up about the catchment. At first it's kind of weird. Well, if you're a city person, or if you've lived in a typical home on the mainland, right? Catchment's like the most foreign possible term you could ever imagine. And like, you mean I gotta take the water off of my roof and put it into a pool, and then I'm gonna drink the water out of that pool, And you mentioned, Dylan, a long time ago, I'll never forget it. You said that, in your family, your grandma would put as far as filtering, she put a sock over the pipe that filtered, and that was the filtering system for water coming into the house. So, filtered through a sock is kind of attractive to me. That's kind of cool right then and there.
Before the days of micro filters and UV filters and all the stuff they have today, I mean, you can do that water so
reverse osmosis, nuclear reaction, fusion energy, exactly, right? It's really kind of funny, but anyway, it's just kind of odd, that people, that there is this thing of catchment, right? And you catch the water, and that is your water source, and you could live off of that, and you live off it, like you said, for the most part. You rarely, if ever, have to, bring in water. You just catch enough, literally, on your rooftop. And Tom says, clean or dirty sock. Good question. Dylan, was that a clean or dirty sock?
That's personal preference, I think. I'll leave that up to you. Depends how adventurous you are.
That's right.
Well, what you left out of the story was this was water that was stored in old redwood tanks that were open at the top, so you'd have to fish the birds and the rats out every couple of days, because they would fall in. So I mean, yeah, we're not talking a cistern under the ground at sealed. I mean, it was wide open. So
oh man,
they lived till they were 100. So they were okay.
Oh my God, that is next level. That is next level country living. Not only are you filtering it through a sock, but you're getting it like open top.
Yeah, these catchment systems are enclosed. They're aluminum. tanks with a liner inside that people change pretty often. I mean, so they're much more clean and sanitary than the olden coffee land shack days of catchment water. So
food grade liners, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, there's a lot. But you know, but I'll tell you something. You know, in the new RFK world that we're living in, hey, there's no fluoride treatment. There's no strange chemicals in there. It's just rainwater, which is about as pure as the water gets. Right? You can't get much more pure than rainwater. But I suppose rainwater going through volcanic gases might pick up something, but hey, who knows? Great topic there. So yeah, Tim's like roof rats. Yeah, roof rats jumping in the water and swimming around. That's kind of fun. But to Pam's point, yeah, great immunity, man. That's why you never get sick, because you take all this stuff down and you develop an immunity to it. So there you have it. All right, cool. Okay, hey, so great topic. This is a lot of fun. You guys, it's a fun conversation here that we're having. So look, let's move on and let's get some closing thoughts over here. I think we're gonna wrap this up and got some closing motivational thoughts. And I think Ronnie's done all of his homework. Ronnie, you are impressing the hell out of me. You had your property ready. You even got your closing. He's a pro, man. He's the man. Do it. All right. So Ronnie, what's your closing motivational thoughts for us?
Peter, that's only because I thought the show started an hour earlier.
Yeah, he did text me at 9:01 saying, I'm on, what's going on?
I went into the studio, no one was there. I'm like panicking. I'm texting Kelly, I'm texting Dylan. This is a quote from Simon Sinek.
You're not supposed to tell anyone this. You're not. That's inside ball. That's inside baseball. Just tell everyone thank you very much. I'm glad to be a part of this. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll know for next time. Thank you, Peter, for the compliment. It's a luxury to put our interests first. It's an honor to put the interests of others before our own. And I really embrace and love the notion, and Dylan is a consummate example of a servant leader. And a servant leader is one who puts others first and is looking out for them and doing things to empower them.
Excellent. Yes, that Dylan is a really good servant leader.
As are you, Ronnie. As are you.
There you go. Look at these guys. They see Dylan just did folks. You just saw a classic local thing that Dylan did. It's classic local thing. You can't accept in local culture. You cannot accept a compliment. You have to at least reflect it back. Either that or you self-deprecate. You say no, it's not me. So that's a classic local culture move that you just saw happen. So that was great. But you're right. You know, it's kind of funny. I used to have a back when I had a bunch of employees, I had a thing on the wall that I tried to follow and failed many times at, but it said, treat people like they're volunteers. Treat people like they're, treat your people like they're volunteers, not employees. And that was a big, learned a lot from that one. Had to,
this may be controversial, but I went to a mastermind. And this really impressed me. But Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, the culture he developed is treat every day like it's day one of the business.
That's a good one. Treat every day like it's day one of the business. Excellent. And that's, one reason why Amazon is so unbelievably successful. Hey, Misty has jumped in. Misty Padilla, welcome, Misty. Good to see you again. Aloha Show family. Thank you for sharing. Stay safe during this rainy weather. We should have some snow here. All right. So Misty, where is the snow? Are you in Vegas now? Are you still partying in Vegas, or are you on the Big Island on the slopes of Haleakala? It's like, where's Waldo? Where's Misty? Where is Misty today? Let us know, Misty, where you're at, and thanks for making
That's actually in our weekend plan. If everything clears up by Sunday, there should be snow on the mountain, and we're gonna take the kids up to Mauna Kea and play in the snow.
Oh, cool. Cool. Snow on Mauna Kea. All right. Yeah, that'd be fun. Cool. All right, Dylan, your turn. What's your thing, and what does it mean to you?
Well, in honor of the storm, this is one of the metaphors that I love, is when an incoming storm approaches, cows run away, which ultimately means that they spend more time in the worst of it. Buffaloes, on the other hand, charge directly into the storm, and by running straight through it, they minimize the time they spend in it and the pain that they suffer. So the metaphor here for life is that you can run away from your problems and your challenges, and you'll spend more time and suffer a longer period inside of them, or you could run towards them and face them face on and get through them and move on. So I think it's a great metaphor for life.
Well
I don't even know if
said,
it's.
well
I don't
said.
even know if this is true. I hear it all the time, and I think it's a great metaphor about buffaloes and cows. But I'm just gonna believe that it is because it's such a great metaphor. So
You know, to take a chapter out of Jordan Peterson, it's the story that matters. We don't know if it's actually true or not, but it's a great story and it's a great analogy, right? It's a
yeah.
thing that you can pull from. Excellent point. Yeah, well said. Charge into it. Charge into the
Storms of
into
life.
the stream. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny to riff on this for a moment here. I was stuck. When I had both my daughters for home for the holidays, and it became this really fun. We started talking about all kinds of things, and my oldest is 28, and my youngest is 24 now. And we got into this sort of almost family therapy session where they were talking about all their childhood memories and all the things that I used to do to them and tell them, etc. When they were little, you know. And it was funny because my oldest daughter said, she said, Dad, you always told us that. He said, you told me that I could do whatever I wanted, except if I told you I was afraid. And if I told you I was afraid, then you would force me to do it, And, and she says, and then we went into it, and this is how this has played out to me today. And she was telling me about how, she's an extraordinary woman now. She's, super high performer, type A personality, kicking ass. So it's kind of fun, but yeah, you charge. So Misty says that, yeah, Hawaii, it's cold. Yeah. Well, I mean that, as Dylan was mentioning, you guys could do a winter wonderland. And Tom says, yeah, cows are easier to ride. There you go, man. Yeah, exactly. Oh, how fun. Cool. All right. I'm going to do, of course, my patented Proverbs excerpt. This was a really good one and an interesting complexity. That's why I picked it. One who increases his possessions by usury, I don't know how to even to pronounce that correctly. Usury and extortion gathers it for him who will pity the poor. That is if you now think about what they're basically saying, and of course, the easy thing to do is to enter that into ChatGPT. But ChatGPT says the one-liner is, whoever increases their wealth by exploiting the poor will end up giving it all back to someone who helps the poor. That's the headline of what this means. And then I kind of went into details with it, and there's an amazing set of things over here. But because what this is really kind of illustrating is that there is not just the obviousness. Well, I don't know if it's obvious or not just what they're saying here, but it is to indicate that there is a divine order to things. There is a divine order to things. And it's basically saying those who essentially cheat others, right? Extortion, usury is charging exorbitantly high interest rates like shark loans. There is a divine order to the universe, and those who mistreat others, those spoils actually go back and help those who need it. And that was a really, really cool piece. And I've never kind of read that far deep into Proverbs, although that Proverbs is deep stuff. So anyway, that's my words of wisdom for today. And Tom says, yeah, thanks for the great content. I'm glad you joined us, Tom. You're quite welcome. All right, folks, that's it. It's been a great show. Wonderful, good fun. We're going to see you again in 2 weeks. Ronnie, thanks for coming an hour earlier to prepare. You were extraordinarily well prepared. That's the secret. Ask you to come an hour earlier, and we'll have everything in order. But it's great. Let's go clockwise. You go last, Donnie. So Dylan, say goodbye. Ronnie, say goodbye.
I love everybody. Have an awesome weekend.
Oh, I missed
You almost had it, man.
I missed your introduction. Hui ho, aloha, and happy Aloha Friday.
Hui ho, aloha. See you folks in 2 weeks. Take care. Aloha.